And we welcome you into another edition of the Lion Keith Goon and Ironhead Show. We're coming to you from Quaker Steak and Lube on a somewhat rainy Thursday afternoon, and lots to get into. The NHL season has come to an end. Tampa Bay with the 1-0 victory in Game 5 to close out the series with Montreal. And for the first time since the beloved Penguins, we have a team repeat as Stanley Cup champions in the National Hockey League. And very impressive run. We've talked about it often, Goon. I think there is no tougher grind in all of sports than to get to the Stanley Cup championship. And I think, Montreal had a terrific run. Yep. I think the Canadiens just ran out of gas, and that's it's 4 series that you have to win. And I get that that's the same thing in basketball, but it's not the same in terms of the grind and the physicality, and and there's just not as much separation in terms of talent, which makes the repeat to me all the more impressive in hockey, because it's impressive in any sport, but I think that the relative parity that there is in hockey, and then again, just the grind that it is to be able to do that back-to-back seasons and be able to get your body and team, body as individuals and team as a whole, to be able to produce well enough during the season to get back and have that opportunity, and then to again, be able to just put your head down and figure out how to get it done. It is no easy feat, and hats off to the Tampa Bay Lightning. I hate that Tampa, of all of the sports cities, and I don't necessarily have anything against Tampa, but I mean, really, that's going to be your city of champions now with the
Tampa Bay,
the Buccaneers, and they've
already been nicknamed Tampa Bay.
And the Lightning. Yeah, it just I don't know. And then I have our dear buddy, big fan of the obligatory show as well. The dear horse in Pittsburgh chimed in yesterday. He's like, hey, good news! You got the Bucks winning the Super Bowl, the Bucks in the NBA Finals. I mean, come on. It only makes sense. The Bucks are going to be in the World Series, except that there's not a chance in hell that they'll be anywhere near
on
that.
Tuesday night.
They did. It was amazing. I thought for a while, and listen, I thought for a few innings there, it was looking, they were up 3-2. It's like, holy cow, 4 in a row. Can you believe? And then 10 runs later.
Real quick on the
playoffs,
the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah.
Montreal had their formula. They had a hot goalie who was playing very, very well. He shut down Tampa Bay pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, and they needed 3 or 4 lines to be scoring, but you're right. They ran out of gas, because that's usually the recipe for winning for the Stanley Cup is hot goalies and a 3 and 4 line scoring, and it just wear people down and stuff like that. But I got to show you this, Ironhead.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm convinced that there's wizardry involved. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a chart here. There's a chart. I got this from a friend of mine.
It's definitely a chart. I can see
Tom
from
Brady
over here.
has lived in his lifetime.
Yeah.
1977 through 1994, they have 2, 4, 6 49ers Super Bowls, an Oakland Raiders Super Bowl, an Oakland A's world title. Okay, and then he goes to college at the University of Michigan in the Detroit area, and the Detroit Red Wings win 4 Stanley Cups, and the Michigan Wolverines win a national title. So then in 2001, when he graduates college and matriculates to the NFL, and he goes to New England in 2001, let's just say he won 6 Super Bowls. The Red Sox won 4 World Championships. The Celtics won a championship, and the Bruins won a championship. So then in 2010 or 2020, he decides, you know what, I'm going to move my house and move my family. We're going to Tampa Bay right now. And since he's moved to Tampa Bay, the Lightning have won 2 Super Bowls. The Rays were in a World Series, and his Buccaneers won a Super Bowl.
Yep.
So I think we need to make him move to Penn State. Or at least somewhere in Pennsylvania. I mean, that's just unbelievable, though.
It is.
So did you watch any of the match the other night?
No, I did not.
You saw a little bit. Booch, did you watch any of it? You got a little bit of his competitive edge come out of him a little bit. You saw it, and he didn't play well the last time. When they played Tiger Woods and Charles Barkley and Steph Curry, and all, he's been in there a couple times, right?
Yeah.
He's not played that well, but you can tell that this was important to him. And he really, 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 really played well. He actually played better than Mickelson, but the one that really blew my mind was Aaron Rodgers. He played better than all four of them, which was just unbelievable to me. But you saw Brady's competitive edge come out because Barkley was harassing him a little bit, and they were kidding around, and it was really funny and this and that. But you could tell that that Brady was pretty mad about last time when Barkley says, "Man, I'm better than you," and he goes, "When Charles Barkley says he's better than you at golf, something's got to change." And what I watched the other night was just unbelievable. Those four guys going at it, and
the course. Looking at just some of the highlights and whatever. I mean, my God, course is.
I was texting people. I'm like, you don't need to watch this, but just look at the views of this place in Montana. But I mean, he hit a 392-yard drive, drove a green. Bryson DeChambeau was one of the longest hitters on the course, and then they both put it within a couple. I mean, I could not believe what I was seeing out there, and I'm like, dude, this guy is unbelievable. Yeah. And then they were neck and neck, and Rodgers was was hammering putts home. I mean, I'm like, man, some very, very, very good athletes, and driven athlete at that, with watching Brady, how he reacted to that whole thing. So I did just get a text that, you know how like Stanley Cup has a Twitter handle?
Yeah.
So Tom Brady said something about, throwing the Stanley Cup, because remember he threw the Super Bowl trophy, and he said, well, look, and then the Stanley Cup said that the Stanley Cup's a lot heavier than the Lombardi Trophy. He goes, well, everything's a little bit lighter when you drink tequila. So the guy's got it all, man. He's got a personality. He's an athlete. He's a stud. He's got a beautiful wife, a lot of money. Damn it.
Yeah.
But he had to go to Michigan. Now, I do not have documentation of this, but I did watch the event, and I swear to God, at one point, I had like 8 people, they were like younger interns carrying cameras, carrying microphones and this and that. And I swear I saw a kid with a Penn State hat on. And I just loved it. I was like, I hope he trips Brady and tears his Achilles up or something like that. Good hit from Penn State. But that was just impressive to watch. But, going back to the Stanley Cup, I love it. It's my favorite sport to watch, and it's always it is actually a fantastic seeing new teams win. But I did see a stat today that in the last 30 years, only 15 teams have won the Stanley Cup.
Is that what it is?
Yep. And headed up by your boys.
Yeah. Although, I mean, that's a pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
You compare that, to like the NFL. I mean, where it's either the Patriots or maybe.
Well, in the 30 years, Patriots, 49ers, we're talking Dallas then.
Yeah.
Giants got a couple. Birds got one. Steelers got, what, 2 in the last 30?
Yep.
Ugh. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. It's just an amazing accomplishment to win and to be able to hoist the Stanley Cup.
I think it's the hardest quest.
I really do too.
The same thing with basketball. There's 2-3 days off in between in this. They're not going every other night.
Yeah, and it's just not the same. It's not the same grind. It's not the same physical toll on your body that hockey is. I mean, I know. There can be some physicality in basketball, but you're not getting checked. And listen, just the skill. And again, obviously world-class athletes we're talking about in the NBA, but running up and down, that is difficult. Skating up and down is, there's a reason that you're on the ice for 2 minutes at a time at the most, right? I mean, it takes it out of you very quickly, and you're doing that over and over with all of the pressure and all of the strategy involved and everything else that goes into it. It just there's nothing in my mind that's as difficult in team sports as being able to hoist the Stanley Cup.
Who do you think athletically of the main 4 sports? Well, I guess in all sports, who are the best athletes? Do you think?
Yeah, that the best athletes. you get into trouble here because I used to argue this when I was in college, and I've evolved a little bit. I know it seems very unlikely, but
they'll call you soft head.
But listen, where you get into trouble here is how you define athleticism, and that's why I say it's just the most difficult achievement.
Yeah.
Because to me, what like if you put a football, and I'm talking about an elite, and talk to Micah Parsons about this. He'll be the first to tell you because he did that training. Yeah, the grind that is a wrestling practice, other than maybe rugby, I just don't think there's anything like it in team sports as far as difficulty. But does that mean, and if you watch the video with Micah, training I don't know if it was over a few days or just the one day, but training with, like Vincenzo Joseph, I forget who else was all involved there. But he's like, yeah, Micah is like, I'm out. This is too much. Well, okay, that's fine. But am I going to sit here and tell you that Micah Parsons is just an inferior athlete to Zane Rutherford? No, it's a different type of training. So, to me, it depends on how you're defining athleticism. Are you talking, just like pure strength, speed, like it's hard to in my mind, to top the NBA for pure athleticism.
That's what I say.
That's on display. As far as most difficult, I think that to me would be hockey. I think the most skilled, the one that requires the most, the greatest skill set, I still think that's Major League Baseball. Hitting a Major League Baseball pitch is, I don't know that we give enough credit to just how unbelievably difficult that is.
All right, I got it for you.
And the guys that do it consistently well. But again, can you be a so-so athlete? Again, however you define, but in terms of power, just power and strength, and then the speed. Yeah, you can be average at all of that and be a great baseball player.
Okay, I just think that basketball players have it all. They have the hand-eye, they have the footwork, the lateral movement, the size, and the strength. Football players, I've seen football players who can run 4 140s but can't catch. They don't have it. I've seen defensive ends who ran a 4.3 40, were first-round NFL picks who could not run laterally. I mean, it's one of those things where basketball, you have to have that. You got to have the size, the strength to play. Hockey, obviously, there's a lot of smaller guys, and it's not as physical as it used to be. It's not as demanding and not as dirty as it used to be. But a good friend of the show, a sponsor, Johnny Broom from Blaze Alexander, he was a former minor league baseball player, tried to work his way, and that never really happened. He said, somebody made up a comment and says, if Jared DeGrom, or is it Jared DeGrom?
Yeah.
You had 100 pitches from him. Do you think he could foul tip one of them or get contact at least on just one?
Jacob, right?
Jacob DeGrom. Sorry, yes. Jared Jacob. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just playing through my mind now.
And I was like, come on, just a foul tip? And he goes, not one of us would touch a pitch, and it wouldn't even be close. I mean, that's just insane to think about. 100 pitches, you can't just like throw the bat out there. I mean, take a regular cut and this and that. And he says it wouldn't even be close.
Yeah.
And that's insane to me to think about. That, you just said it's the hardest thing to do. And that's absolutely right. Barry Bonds may have been the most steroided guy in the whole absolute world. And his head size went from, Bucci size to my size in 10 years. What head doesn't go up a size and a half, a whole size and a half in 10 years. But the fact that he still had to have the hand-eye coordination, even better yet, he saw about 3 pitches a week that he could actually hit, and he was driving them out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
I mean, what he was doing was just unbelievable. That is by far the hardest thing to do in sports, I believe. But I do think that the toughest sport is wrestling because there's nowhere to hide. As Nate Carr Sr. said to me that one time about when I was like, well, are these guys talking crap and this? And he goes, no, there's no one backing you up. You are one-on-one with that guy ahead of you, And if you're not ready to go, he's going to beat the living tar out of you. No hiding, no running around. There's really nowhere to go in the ring. So, but basketball, I say, are the best athletes. Football players are. I don't know. I wouldn't say the toughest, because hockey players, I think, are the toughest, but football players are the biggest and the strongest, and I think they're the meanest.
Yeah, and the other part of it is, we're talking about the kind of the overall picture, because obviously, and this is, every year when the Olympics come around, that we start this debate about where do the great athletes in the U.S. go, and the truth is that they go all over the place. Like Bo Nickel, that guy was going to be great in whatever sport he chose. I mean, if he decided he wanted to be a football player and that's what he had worked on to craft from the time he was young, and that was his passion. I mean, his athleticism is such that he would be great at whatever sport he chose.
Must interrupt you real quick.
Yeah.
You were talking about coaching the other day about, so is Bo really the only one he's fixed on the MMA? We were talking about wrestling. I never asked.
Yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention that just an aside to that aside. I forgot to talk about Ed Ruth getting an assistant coaching job at Illinois, which is also pretty significant. Yeah, and I think I'm really curious to see, because I've had a couple people, reach out to me and just ask my thoughts on it. And
well, he was an MMA guy, right?
He was, yeah. And there's a few things. It's just like life, right? That there are always those kids who are troublemakers in school that find their way to success, right? And genuinely, and earn it. When I say find their way, I mean it's not that something's handed to them, but it's that they figure things out and make the improvements. I'm telling you, and it's not that Scott and Josh Moore were bad kids by any measure, but if you had asked me when they were in school, man, are those two guys that you want coaches? John and Russ Hughes were the same thing. I mean, those aren't guys that I would have pegged as, those are the guys that I want working with youth. And I'm telling you, I've been around all four of those guys enough. And again, I don't want to paint like an incorrect picture here. It's not like these were guys that were getting in all kinds of trouble. It's just that they were not. There was a maturity level that wasn't there when they were in college. By the way, as immature as they come, right here when I was in college. So this isn't casting stones, but. So sometimes the kids that you think would be great coaches, for whatever reason they can't communicate as effectively as you'd think, or whatever, don't turn out to be. Now, a lot of times, the ones that you think will go on. I mean, I remember Jake Strayer when he was here, and he's having a very good high school coaching career. I'm like, that's a guy that would be great with kids. Zane Rutherford, if whatever he decides to do again, he'll be successful. And
like Quentin.
But I think Ed is a guy that just, again, has learned from all of his life experiences. And I think that's a guy with college athletes. He's going to be able to relate to, all kinds of different experiences that they're going through, trouble that may come their way, and truly be able to guide them, because he's been through it and he's come out on the other side in good shape. So, I think he'll have success there at the next level.
What happened to the MMA for him?
I think it just ran its course and ready to move on.
Now, Bo is after the Olympics is going to go that route, right?
Yeah, there are. Well, that's yes, the plan. There are other guys that have talked about it. I don't know if anybody at the moment is pursuing it. I suspect there will be others that will at some point down the road. Roman Bravo Young is one that would not surprise me. Again, I haven't heard him talk about that specifically being a plan, but it would not surprise me in the least if that was a road that he would want to take down the line. And again, there's a lot of guys on this this team that will have those opportunities if they wish to pursue them.
Gotcha.
Coming down the road. But there are guys that, again, are great, and you see it. It's just not the numbers. The discussion always comes around, why is the U.S. men's soccer team, and everybody's like, wow, because the greatest athletes don't go play soccer once they get to the high school level and beyond in this country. And again, overall, I think that's certainly true. I mean, football, again, is still the biggest draw, football and basketball. And
baseball's hanging.
That's where you're gravitating toward. I think if you're a great athlete, just because of the opportunities and the exposure at young ages. But I will say, I think we're seeing a more of a dilution of that talent. Just because of the number of opportunities now with different sports at the high school level. John Ziegler wrote a really interesting article at Mediate, and Zig is known to us for his work on the Sandusky case, which, by the way, just a quick, if you've not listened to the podcast and you are at all interested, it is, I think, 16-part series. I'm into the final couple of episodes myself. I still haven't finished it up, but it is all out there now. And if you are interested at all in actually getting to the truth of what occurred, and maybe more importantly, what did not occur at Penn State with the Sandusky case, you talk about a decade's worth of work being laid out piece by piece and analyzed, talked about and questioned and analyzed. It really just terrific work. But Ziegler wrote a piece on this being the end of college sports as we know it. And we've had a little bit of discussion. I agree largely with his piece, but I think it's even worse than what he lays out in terms of, again, big time college sports as we know it, because I do think, as we've talked about, I think this will result in pretty short order and fewer opportunities overall for high school athletes to get scholarships to compete collegiately. I think the overall numbers will drop pretty significantly. I hope I'm wrong about that. I'd love to be proven wrong and have people laughing in my face at that projection, but I don't see any way around it moving forward, that there will be a great decrease. I don't think so. I don't see it anyway as we sit here today.
James Franklin better be ready to go into someone's home and say, listen, our players average $13,000 a year in the NLL.
So what I'm interested about, the other side of this then is, okay, so right now, when I say there's been a diffusion in the number of elite athletes in football and basketball, it's not that I don't think there are still more great athletes in football and basketball than anywhere else, but I do think you now are having some in wrestling, some in baseball, some in lacrosse, some in swimming. I mean, I think there are more high school opportunities now than there have ever been, male and female, to, hey, you know what, let me try this. I really like this. Volleyball is, there were not a lot of varsity volleyball programs when I was coming through high school, or lacrosse. I mean, a lot of these sports have really taken off. What I'm curious to see is, does that also drop off if those college opportunities aren't there in the numbers that they are now? Are you going to have the same type of high school participation still in those sports, or do you start to see the correlation there, that is the college program shut down? You also see more high school varsity programs say, nope, that's not, and we're going to concentrate on the football, basketball, baseball, the traditional what we think of as the major league sports here. In our country. And I don't know what the answer is there, but it certainly would make sense that as opportunities to continue those careers dwindle, that the number of kids looking at those other sports would also decrease, and you get back to, listen, it's football, basketball, maybe hockey here and there, maybe baseball here and there, and then again, select parts of the country. I mean, I think wrestling's going to be big in Pennsylvania for the foreseeable future. I think lacrosse is going to be big in the regional areas, but in terms of growing and expanding opportunities and trying to get some of these programs that have become more national, I think that's unlikely. I think you're going to see a shrinking. I think you'll see more and more of these sports really become regionalized.
Yeah. So you think that, okay, so we say that the NCAA, just say Power 5 football and the Power 5, I guess there's more than 5 in basketball. So they break away. Do you think the NCAA will still, like the MAC schools and the Mountain West conferences, I think the NCAA will still exist for them, do you think? Or do you think they
some sort of
break away?
Yeah, I don't know that it'll be the NCAA per
we keep
se.
On saying it's going to go away, but what are the options? And that is the money, aka television and media, are going to come in and take over the Power 5 conferences and create super conferences. I think would be my guess, but there's a lot more basketball teams than football teams. So then one sport. I mean that we're in the Big Ten, so I think that our basketball team would compete at that level. But I don't know the answer. We keep on saying, because my wife asked me, she's like, you always say the NCAA is going to be going away in the next 5 years. So what is going to take its place?
Well, and I think that's one of the great unknowns. And again, if the NCAA remains, it's not going to remain as is, right? There's not going to be the number of opportunities for the NCAA type of bureaucracy. Now, I think, again, you're going to have a bunch of universities getting together, which is how the NCAA initially formed, right? It's hey, we got to have some governance here. We got to have some established playing rules. So I think that there's, whether it's the NCAA or another organization that is agreed upon among those competing, you still are going to have some sort of governing organization. But I think what I'm expecting is that it's going to be largely, and it may not be an organization per se. It may be, listen, each school now just has a representative, and I don't know. I mean, I'm making up one of the possible scenarios that I see is each school, which is again largely how the NCAA started, but you have a rep that, hey, these are this is what we think should happen, and maybe you just once a year you get together over the summer. And these are the ground rules we're laying out for the upcoming year. It, like everything else, I think it's largely going to be lawyer driven, because everything right now in college sports is going to have to revolve around hey, can we legally do this or demand this, or will this rule hold up under the scrutiny of a court? And I think that's going to be, I mean, everything now, to a large degree, always has been, but I think with the changing landscape now, you have to vet through, okay, this is what we think the courts are going to do, and this is where we think we have, a firm legal standing at least, and we're willing to put it to the test, or you know what, we got to get rid of this one because I don't see any way that it does hold up if we go to court. And I think everything's going to be viewed as everything is everywhere else on these campuses right now, and for that matter throughout most of society. You're viewing it through the prism of, hey, is this going to get us in legal hot water? And if so, let's try to stay away from it. If not, then okay, I think it's a good idea. Let's go ahead and try to run with it.
What do you think about what Miami had happen to them this past week? And that was, the gym coming out and paying $500 to every player, every scholarship player on Miami's team. So each player from Miami is getting $6,000 a year from this gym. 85 players, so it's like $500 and some $1,000. This guy now is known as, I mean, I'm gonna borrow something from Booch in his podcast yesterday, and that is, okay, they're now the official gym of the Miami Hurricanes.
Yep.
Okay, well, when is Miami going to come in and say, whoa, 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 you can't be using our name? Where's our cut of this?
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, just think about all that. And then, what other schools? I mean, if it's going to cost $500,000 to give each kid on the team $6,000 a year, do other schools come in with these heavy hitters and saying, okay, well, give them each $12,000 a year, $15,000 a year, we'll take care of it, write the check. And the more and more I think about it and how broad and how broad the rules are, but how big this could be is just unbelievable. The more and more I think and talk about it.
I agree. The another angle to this that I don't think we've discussed a whole lot. We've talked about the problems within the locker room and with student athletes. Again, a football player being upset. A starting offensive lineman that's getting no endorsements being upset with a gymnast who's getting 3 or 4 endorsements and making good money when, again, you look at what the revenue is being brought in to the school. I thought a couple of things that Ziegler brought up in his Mediate article were interesting. One was the idea that, and he agrees, by the way, with your thoughts on that's going to create a lot of problems within, and not just within a team, although certainly that's going to be an issue, but also with different student athlete groups. Here's another thing, though, because if you have a proactive coach, I think it could create some real issues with different coaches within a program. If I'm a coach and I'm good friends with, again, clothing company X, and I go to the head of clothing company X and I say, man, can you take care of my team? Let's get something worked out with these guys. And somebody else, right? The wrestling coach is good friends with that individual, and the baseball coach is pretty good friends, but doesn't think to pick up the phone until a day or two later. I mean, you can have some real friction within coaching staffs on these campuses as well, in terms of, hey, we're the one team concept that, Penn State and everywhere tries to develop and harness. I think that becomes a little more difficult now with this as well. And, the other, another component to this is, again, coaches, especially in football and basketball, right? We talk all the time about that. They are control freaks. They need to be the ones in charge. And as we've talked about, I think you're going to see some interesting media deals come out of this where, hey, I'm the flagship station of the Miami Hurricanes, and we have the coaches show. Well, I'm the competing radio station in Miami. I have the star quarterback, the star linebacker, and the star wide receiver on at the same. We're going to go head to head with you. Now, if you're the coach, I mean, there are all kinds of issues that will be raised. And listen, part of this too, I still don't know what all is and isn't going to be permitted to be written into the national letter of intent when you sign. But even if there is something written in, again, the competitive advantage here, it's okay. Yep. If you come to Penn State, you know that you can't sign with a competing radio station for, okay. And I don't know if legally how that holds up or not, but let's just say everybody agrees you can put that in there and that does hold up. Well, if I'm a coach that I'm like, I don't care. I don't even want to do the coach show anyway. I tell my university, listen, I'm out.
Give them the money.
And yep, let's. I line it up for my my. We're gonna have 5 players on it every week, and you'll be paid $200 a pop. So don't go to University X where they're not letting you do that. I'm telling you straight up, we're going to do that. The other thing that Ziegler brings up, and we have talked about this, but the the open market and open season here, when you combine what is happening now with the name, image, and likeness and the transfer portals, I mean, it really is going to be the Wild West here in terms of, hey, Johnny, I saw you had a great freshman year as a quarterback. You were a starter there. What kind of money were you making at that school? Because I have 5 dealers lined up here,
No doubt.
ready to. So just letting you know, if you want to come over and really capitalize on your success, you can stick with your teammates there. But
to think about.
And so it is, again, I think the biggest unintended consequence, and again, we'll see if this plays out, but I suspect you're going to see a lot fewer scholarships. I don't even know what the number is now, but if you take the number of just overall athletic scholarships at the D1 level across the board in all sports, and you compare that right now with 5 years from now, I will be absolutely stunned if it's not a dramatic decrease in the overall. Because again, to keep up on the football basketball front, which is where everybody's gravy train is, right? You have to now be investing in every conceivable way into those programs. And I'm just telling you, I think the days of the 30 plus, like you have in several of these Big Ten schools and some Pac-12 schools, of 30 plus varsity programs at these universities, I think those days are gone or will be gone very, very shortly.
Yeah, just to go back about all this animosity amongst players and that, but there's definitely 100%. There's already animosity. And I'll tell you that from an ex-player standpoint, and you used to see guys walking around and girls walking around campus and this and that, and they see them traveling and athletes, I'm saying, other sports.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's the same sweatshirt I have. Why are you getting the same thing when we're literally the ones paying for all of that? And there was always an animosity there. So now you're going to add in an offensive lineman who's not getting many endorsements to a female lacrosse player, male lacrosse player, a women's soccer player, or women's gymnastics. They make no money for the university, but they're getting all kinds. I mean, it's going to, we can't keep saying it like I have been, but there's going to be issues and this and that. And you know what? You bring up the coaching thing, the coaches show versus other shows or this or that, and again, I still say, and I say this from a year ago when this started coming out, and that was, we are not a big enough area to have people competing for the same sponsorship dollars. Well, you're gonna have companies who are gonna my budget is $50,000 a year for advertising, and I used to give it all to Penn State University, all athletics. Now I got to go 25 to the players. I want to sponsor some players and stuff like that, but then Penn State's down 25, and then they're going to start hurting, and that's where you're going to see sports getting dropped.
Yeah,
that's where it's going to come from.
And the other part of that, which Ziegler talks about in his Mediate piece, when you look at the at how that money is doled out right now, again, one thing that just never get, because like Jay Billis and folks like that will point out, there's millions of dollars being made off of these student athletes. And yes and no. I understand what he's saying, but a couple of things. One is, and I think Ziegler's absolutely right on this point, and that is with very, very few exceptions, the draw is, and it's even true in professional sports, right? The draw isn't the athlete. It is the team, the organization, the jerseys, right? Like I go to Steelers games, and yes, because Jerome Bettis was a Steeler, I'm a Bettis fan. But it's not. But it's the Steelers are the draw there, and I'm telling you, it's even more so really at the collegiate level, because you either identify with the team because you're a fan from a young age. Very few times is somebody a fan of a team just because of an individual or a few individuals on that team, especially at the collegiate level. It's either that you're an alumnus there, you live in that town, or there's some draw to a school, and that's why you're a fan. And the athletes will come and go. And yes, you may grab a 26 jersey because Saquon Barkley's there, but when Saquon leaves, you're not. And truthfully, it's the same thing with the coaches. Yes, James Franklin is a big deal because he is coaching Penn State, but if James Franklin leaves tomorrow, whoever the next coach is going to be, everybody's going to be gravitating toward that individual because it is because it's the head coach of Penn State. And so again, there is certainly, like Tim Tebow is the example that Ziegler used. I mean, yes, that guy drew above and beyond what a normal, even star athlete would. But those are the exceptions, not the rules here when it comes to these college athletics. And so this model of college athletics, again, it is the draw of the school is number one. And again, that money, when it comes in, yes, it's millions, but it is being doled out to the thousands of student athletes who are then benefiting from it. And yes, do I think there are too many administrators, too much bureaucracy? Yes. But again, the reason that Penn State has been able to make the upgrades to the athletic facilities, the reason that it can afford the scholarships to the 31 or 32 varsity sports that it has, quite frankly, the reason it has a thriving intramural program to the degree it does, all of that is partially, if not fully, because of the success and the money being brought in by the football and the basketball programs. And again, that is because it is Penn State, right? In Penn State's case, or because it's Alabama, or because it's Texas.
Joe Paterno. So I believe that Joe finally took over his likenesses later in the 80s and the 90s. But in the 60s and 70s, I'm sure they were selling stuff with that Joe Pa stuff that he wasn't getting any kick on. So you just mentioned something. Booch, I had another scenario in my head. You wear 26 after Saquon Barkley. Say the next Saquon, say the next big star, okay? Sean Clifford, that jersey sells the most. So he leaves. Why not take 14 in your freshman year? Are you going to get the money from McClanahan's, from Nike, from the family clothesline? Or is it going to kick back up to Sean Clifford or Saquon Barkley because that was their number, So now I'm starting to – I'm going to give you number 14. You're going to make a lot more money on the – Right? I mean, it's – oh, my God. It's like doomsday scenario every day for me. You're thinking about all this stuff.
We're going to take a break here.
I just want reparations. You see how many 53 jerseys get rocked around this town, Alan? I know you sleep in one at night, Alan. Don't you lie to me. Jeez.
Every right-thinking, red-blooded Penn Stater does the same.
Absolutely.
We'll take a break here. We are back with more of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show from Quaker Steak and Lube right after this.
The State College Spikes have even more fun in store for fans during the second half of the Major League Baseball Draft League season. There's 6 more fireworks shows on the schedule, 2 more Bark in the Park nights for you and your dog. Plus, Paint the Park Pink Night presented by Mount Nittany Health on July 17th, Autism Awareness Night presented by the Central PA Autism Community on July 24th, and much, much more. Make more memories with the Spikes this summer. For tickets, call 814-272-1711 or buy and download at statecollegespikes.com.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorrentos available on our lot, starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Quaker Steak and Lube is throwing open the garage doors and setting up the umbrellas. It's patio season. Come enjoy great food, drinks, and fun in the sun. There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube, but we're really amping up our event calendars for our favorite time of year. Visit thelube.com to find out what's happening at your local lube this season. Lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, indoors or outside, at Quaker Steak and Lube, you'll always find big flavors, friendly faces, and lots of fun.
Hi, Johnny Broom here. If you're in the market for a new Hyundai or a pre-owned car, truck, van, or SUV, nobody beats a Blaze Alexander deal. But don't take my word for it.
Hey, Goon says tell him Johnny sent you.
Hey, tell him Johnny sent ya.
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Wait, tell him Juan or tell him Johnny sent you?
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Here at Bill Pickles Tap Room, we say,
Tell him Johnny sent you.
and remember,
And we welcome you back to the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here on this Thursday. Few other things that we can get into. We touched on it briefly Tuesday, Goon, but the Johnny Sutherland case here with Penn State football, where he was charged for the incident. What was it? A couple days before July 4th, right? Was when the incident actually occurred?
Was it? I thought it was a month before he was actually.
Was it a month? Maybe. Yeah, I might be getting
the day before.
Okay,
4th of July. So, discharge of a weapon, public place.
Yeah, and I just have quite again. We touched on Tuesday, and I'm really not trying to create anything. I just. Genuinely curious, and maybe we can get a lawyer or somebody to respond to us, but normally if somebody fires a weapon and it goes into an apartment building, and again, if that is, normally you get criminal mischief and disorderly conduct, and that's that, it's a first-time offense, and then, I mean, again, I'm not looking to stir anything up. I just would have thought, especially in the era that we're living in right now, that if you're firing a weapon,
illegally discharging it,
yes,
accidentally discharging
that would be more than a misdemeanor charge. It's just what I would have guessed. I would have assumed that if the exact same circumstances occurred to me, I'm expecting. I'm just telling you, I'm expecting to do jail time. I'm not asking for jail time here. I'm not asking for any treatment one way or the other. It caught me off guard that it is as light of a crime as it is, or at least as it's being charged with. Just again, given the circumstances. The other thing that is just bizarre to me, and I don't know enough about the case, somebody else that maybe knows a lot more than I do. I'm just taking everything at face value here, which is always dangerous in any story. But Sutherland, reportedly told authorities that, yeah, listen, it wasn't my gun. I don't know much at all about guns. I thought it was unloaded, and he fired into a line of trees. If you're I'm trying to get in the mindset, and listen, I did plenty of truly idiotic, really dumb things when I was in college. So this isn't, I fully admit that. I genuinely don't understand if you're a high-profile athlete, and anybody on that Penn State football team, I don't care if you're a fifth-year senior who's never been on the field. You are a high-profile athlete at Penn State if you're on the team. Sutherland obviously is more than that. Why are you putting yourself in any kind of a position where anything, especially if you're not familiar with guns, like why would you even agree to touch the doggone thing? I don't know. It's just extremely poor judgment. And again, I certainly understand part of that college experience is learning to differentiate good judgment from poor judgment. And again, I'm not suggesting that we lock him up and throw away the key or anything. I don't understand how he put himself in the circumstance that he did. And I'm genuinely surprised that the charges are as minor as they are.
Coach, if Mr. Producer over here, you may want to look back and see what E.Z. Smith and Mike Southern were charged with about 15 years ago.
That was,
recall.
Yeah.
That was a compound bow, but that was on campus, so that was an on-campus thing. I don't know if they were arrested that night, and I don't know if Jonathan was arrested that night. I know he was charged later.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about all this stuff. So that gun, he said it was not his, so somebody actually had that gun legally, first of all. That was a legally owned gun because the cops would have been knowing where was the gun.
Right.
You know what I mean? Then
right.
Where does it come from? Whose is it? Well, they should be in trouble too, in my opinion. Should they not? I mean, aren't you in charge of your gun if you're going to be a concealed carry person? And if it's out being whipped around at a party on an outdoor party, I mean, that's no longer concealed carry, in my opinion. I don't know. Was there alcohol involved? I don't know. We don't know. But you would think that there would be more ramifications to all of this. And I mean, unless it was truly a mistake and they're giving him a break, I don't know. I would highly doubt that in the world we're living in right now when it comes to firearms, illegal discharging. But, I mean, you're right. I mean, you'd think it'd be more than that. I mean, that's a misdemeanor is a speeding ticket pretty much, you know? And,
yeah.
I know he's going to deal with Coach Franklin. He's going to have to deal with the university eventually when all the due process goes. But I don't know. Again, we have all done millions and millions and millions of dumb things, and I'm glad I didn't have any kind of gunplay in my youth or anything like that, because I would have been the same way. I didn't fire a gun.
Well, and listen,
you grew up with guns, around guns, hunting, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I didn't hunt, but a ton of my friends.
22 years old. I had never even shot a gun until I was 22. I also didn't drive a car until I was 22.
Is that right? Yeah,
that's a true story.
Yeah, I just I don't know. Fortunately, nobody was hurt, right?
Yeah,
I mean, this is an entirely different story. If just by a freak accident, somebody's walking through in that room when the bullet goes through. I mean, just very, very fortunate that the situation is such as it is, and that that's what we're talking about, and nothing worse. Couple of other things just to touch on today. The remainder of the baseball season, I just have to say, is just going to be painful. I mean, I'm not even. I don't know. I can't. I have never been less interested in Major League Baseball. Let me put it that way.
The Phillies fixed their bullpen. They score 14 runs a game. You do that, you got a good shot at winning the game with the Phillies right now.
There you go.
That's the story I want to talk to. Ohtani.
Yeah.
We have never in our lives seen anything like that. He hit his 32nd home run the other night, and he pitches every fifth day.
Yeah.
Did you hear what Madden said about him? He goes, well, we always wondered what it would be like to watch Babe Ruth play baseball. Well, we are. We are literally watching Babe Ruth.
Definitely the closest
baseball.
Thing we've had in our lifetime.
Absolutely
it is
absolutely amazing. And he does not take time off. I mean, it's unbelievable what he's doing.
Yeah, it truly is. And
he's crushing home runs. And then there's a hell of a pitcher on top of that.
Yeah.
And then, we're sitting there in the I mentioned DeGrom earlier. I mean, dude, what he's doing right now, the over-under on that game yesterday, the over-under, that's total runs between two teams, was 4.5. I mean, you are that good. Now, granted, it was a doubleheader, so it was 7 innings, but I get it. But 4.5 runs total between two teams.
And doing it in an era where specialization is becoming more and more the norm throughout sports. I mean, we've talked about this before, but football has evolved, or depending on your perspective, devolved, however you want to look at it. But there was a time where you had, your 11 starters on offense, your 11 starters on defense, and that was basically it. Somebody came off the field if they were hurt, but that was about it. Well, now it is all situational. You have guys that are out there only on 1st and 10. You have guys that are out there only if it's 3rd or 4th and
Miles
short.
Sanders is going to have a 12-year NFL career because he's got so much tread on his tires.
Yeah.
Where you look at a guy like Ron Dane, who went into the NFL, he was Earl Campbell. Ricky Williams, he was so beat up and run down. I mean, this is good for players, right?
Oh, for players, for sure.
So your boy Cole with the Yankees right now, the old Pirates pitcher.
Yep.
Do you see his stats since they started? Checking gloves and all that stuff in mid-game for any kind of residue.
I haven't seen.
His ERA is absolutely through the roof. Hits per inning, strikeouts per game, everything is completely way out of whack from his first couple months versus right now since they started checking. I mean, it is unbelievable. And he was one of the guys who was really adamant against it. And that he was actually asked about that situation. He was he had a very stuttering type answer. So I'm not saying it's true, but I mean there's a little bit of smoke there. But I mean there's another one. DeGrom. I mean you're talking about specialized baseball. Now you're talking about the pitchers are getting checked. So absolute sure as hell he is not cheating because they are literally checking his glove, his pockets mid game.
Yeah,
at any time they can do it. And he is still being this dominant. I mean, that's just unbelievable to watch. And then the baseball game next week. Ohtani might start the game in the home run derby, and it's just crazy to think about what he's. Okay, I just had a comparison. Khalil Mack when he got All Pro, which is not in the Pro Bowl. I mean, talk about All Pro. When there's 22 guys chosen or 24 with the kickers and a punter.
Yep.
He got it twice. He got outside linebacker and as the defensive end. That's unheard of.
Yeah.
So Ohtani being a hitter as well as a pitcher is almost as similar to that, but I don't think we'll ever see anything like what he's doing in our lifetime again. Amazing.
I don't think so either. Again, just because for one thing, that there aren't many in this country that are given the opportunity, right? If you're a great pitcher, you are honing, like you're not spending much time on the hitting. I'm not saying you're not spending any time, but I mean, to be great at both, you've got to spend a good bit of time in your formative years developing both sets of skills. And I'm telling you, if you're a great pitcher, you're told that listen, you got to zero in on this. You can, play around with the bat here and there, and not saying completely ignore it, but you got to zero in. Or if you're a great hitter, right? At an early age, I mean, you're being told, hey, this is your path. You're not, you're not focusing on pitching
Japan,
now.
so he came over from Japan.
Well, that's what I'm saying is
maybe they were allowing it, and we're not allowing it. So, like you're saying, you're a star hitter, and then you're a star pitcher. They're going to want you on the field every day. So they're going to want you playing first, third, outfield, whatever, so you can be on hitting every day.
Yeah.
They're not going to want you pitching. And only have you one day a week, but that's just unreal what he's doing.
It's
impressive.
It
didn't hit home until what Madden said today. And he goes, we were literally looking, if you ever wondered what it was to watch Babe Ruth, we do it every day right now. And that's the really, really cool comparison, and it's true.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
Well, on that note, I think we can wrap things up.
Have a good weekend.
Go enjoy the weekend. We will talk to you again on Tuesday. Until then, be good and be safe.
The State College Spikes have even more fun in store for fans during the second half of the Major League Baseball Draft League season. There's 6 more fireworks shows on the schedule, 2 more Bark in the Park nights for you and your dog. Plus, Paint the Park Pink Night presented by Mount Nittany Health on July 17th, Autism Awareness Night presented by the Central PA Autism Community on July 24th, and much, much more. Make more memories with the Spikes this summer. For tickets, call 814-272-1711 or buy and download at statecollegespikes.com.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorrentos available on our lot, starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Quaker Steak and Lube is throwing open the garage doors and setting up the umbrellas. It's patio season. Come enjoy great food, drinks, and fun in the sun. There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube, but we're really amping up our event calendars for our favorite time of year. Visit thelube.com to find out what's happening at your local lube this season. Lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, indoors or outside, at Quaker Steak and Lube, you'll always find big flavors, friendly faces, and lots of fun.
Hi, Johnny Broom here. If you're in the market for a new Hyundai or a pre-owned car, truck, van, or SUV, nobody beats a Blaze Alexander deal. But don't take my word for it.
Hey, Goon says tell him Johnny sent you.
Hey, tell him Johnny sent ya.
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Wait. Tell him Juan or tell him Johnny sent you?
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Here at Bill Pickles Tap Room, we say,
tell him Johnny sent you.
And remember,